Welcome to the Alcohol Reset, the podcast that helps you reset your habits, health, and relationship with alcohol without judgment or extremes. If you're looking to cut back, take a break, or just understand how drinking can affect your body and mind, you're in the right place. Each episode brings you science-backed insights on neuroscience, nutrition, and habit change to help you feel better, sleep deeper, and take control on your terms. I'm Mike Hardenbrook, best-selling author, neuroscience enthusiast, and habit change expert. I've helped thousands through my book and podcast to rethink their drinking, and now I'm here to help you do the same. Let's get started. Hey everyone, and welcome. I'm Mike Hardenbrook. If you know me from No Willpower Required, or maybe Cloud9, I really love to unpack, which genuinely helps us thrive. Today, we're cracking open something that's suddenly just everywhere. You can see it from major brands, craft breweries, athletes are talking about it, influencers. It's non-alcoholic beer. And look, it's chill, it's definitely trendy, it looks like beer, smells like beer, and honestly, a lot of it tastes remarkably like beer now. Plus, it comes with this promise, right? None of the bad stuff, yeah. But here's the really big question. One I know a lot of you are probably asking yourselves, is it actually healthier? Like, truly? Or are we, the consumers, maybe just falling for some really clever marketing, kind of placebo in a nice frosty can? That's exactly what we're going to explore today. We're going to really dig into the science behind NA beer. What are the real, evidence-backed benefits? Where some drawbacks, maybe unexpected ones? Are there surprising ingredients hiding in there? And does it really deserve that healthy alternative label it gets? This discussion feels super tideway. I mean, the non-alcoholic beer industry has just exploded. It's massive. We're talking, what, a $9 billion global market, and it's still growing like crazy. So for a lot of people trying to cut back on alcohol, maybe step away entirely, or just generally aiming for a healthier lifestyle, well, non-alcoholic beer seems like this perfect, easy compromise, almost a no-brainer. But here's the crucial point. You really need to hear this. Not all non-alcoholic beers are the same, not even close. And if you're drinking and thinking, oh, this is inherently good for me, you absolutely need to know what's actually inside that can. Because as we're going to find out, alcohol-free doesn't always mean risk-free. Doesn't even always mean problem-free. So, let's get into it. Okay, so let's start right at the beginning. What exactly is non-alcoholic beer anyway? And the answer might surprise you a little, because here's a bit of a spoiler right up front. It's often not truly 0.0% alcohol. When I first really looked into the specifics, one of the most surprising things I learned, and it's really critical distinction, right? Because here in the US, anything under 0.5% alcohol by volume, that's ABV, is legally called non-alcoholic. Just think about that for a second. 0.5%, that means it still contains trace amounts of alcohol. It's not technically completely alcohol-free. And that's a pretty important difference, right? Especially if you're someone who's maybe highly sensitive to even tiny amounts. Or, crucially, if you're on a path toward complete sobriety. That 0.5% could matter a lot. So how do they actually make this stuff? Well, there are basically two main ways. One method is pretty straightforward. They just stop the fermentation process early. They start brewing it like regular beer, but then they get the breaks, cut it off before much alcohol melts. The second common method is actually pretty clever. They brew a full-strength beer first, and then they remove the alcohol after it's brewed. They use some sophisticated techniques for this, things like vacuum distillation or reverse osmosis, pre-hijack. But here's the thing. Both of these methods tend to leave behind, you guessed it, small amounts of alcohol. And importantly, they often leave behind some residual sugar too. And those leftovers, the trace alcohol and the sugar, they can definitely impact how your body processes the drink, and maybe how you feel afterwards. Okay, so technical stuff aside, let's talk upsides. Because there are some legitimate benefits. Places where NA beer might actually help, the main one. Obvious, but it's huge. Less alcohol means way less stress on your liver. You're simply not flooding your system with ethanol, like toxic stuff. And that means considerably less pressure on your liver, sure, but also on your overall metabolism, your neurotransmitters, those chemical messages in your brain controlling everything from mood to energy. So yeah, that's a massive plus for your physical well-being. Hard to argue with that one. Other potential upside, calories. Some non-alcoholic beers are genuinely lower in calories, so if you're watching your intake, that can be great. And this is a really big pessimist. Some brands are surprisingly high in sugar and carbohydrates, like really high sometimes. I mean, absolutely, positively have to check that label. Don't just assume non-alcoholic automatically means low cal. It often doesn't. Now, for a lot of people, NA beer can be a really valuable tool as a habit breaker. This is interesting. If you try to cut back on alcohol, maybe quit altogether, NA beer can step in and replace the ritual of drinking. Think about it, right? The physical act of holding a cold can or bottle, the sound of opening it, that familiar first sip feeling, even just fitting in socially when everyone else has a drink. Replacing that ritual can genuinely help reduce cravings. It can ease that social pressure in situations where having a drink just feels expected. It helps you navigate those tricky moments without feeling totally left out or deprived. And here's something else I find genuinely interesting. There's a new wave, a new category of functional non-alcoholic beers popping up. And these aren't just throwing in random trendy stuff. Some are actually adding beneficial ingredients, things like magnesium, potassium, even adaptogens. Now, when this is done well, these dishes could genuinely support things like recovery and hydration. For instance, adaptogens like ashwagandha might help your body manage stress. Magnesium, we know, is vital for muscle function, relaxation. Potassium helps with electrolyte balance, super important for hydration. So this moves it beyond just being a substitute drink. Maybe it is something that offers genuine support for your body's systems. That's a key difference. Okay, so hearing all that, you might be thinking, awesome, non-alcoholic beer, here I come. But hold on a second, because, like most things that sound maybe a little too perfect, there are some downsides, some not so hidden downsides we really, really need to be aware of. And the biggest one, I think, especially for maybe a good chunk of people listening, is that trace alcohol. Even that seemingly tiny 0.5% ABV can be a genuine trigger risk. Seriously, for anyone who's sober in recovery or just knows they're highly sensitive, even that small amount could potentially spark cravings. It could reawaken old memory associations linked to drinking. It might even cause a subtle physical response you aren't expecting. It's a very serious consideration, something you absolutely should not just brush aside. Then there's the sugar and carb issue. We touched on it, but let's be clear. To get that taste, that body, that mouthfeel closer to traditional beer, maybe NA brands load up on sugar, sometimes a lot of it. And what does that lead to? Well, those familiar blood sugar spikes, maybe inflammation over time. And honestly, it can just leave you feeling kind of sluggish and blah afterwards. So you trade the alcohol buzz for, a sugar rush followed by a crash? That kind of defeats the purpose if you're trying to feel better, doesn't it? Here's another significant point to really think about. Even without the alcohol, drinking non-alcoholic beer can, maybe paradoxically, keep the habit of drinking alive and well. This includes all those mental associations, leaving a beer to unwind after work, reaching for one to celebrate something, or even using it to cope when you're stressed out. You're still grabbing that specific type of bottle or can in those exact same moments. It reinforces the underlying behavioral pattern, even if the liquid inside is different. And this one's truly fascinating. Almost a bit of a mind bender, really. Your brain can still get confused by NA beer. Even with zero or near zero alcohol, your brain can still react to the taste, the smell, the whole context of drinking a beer. This isn't just you imagining things. Your brain's reward pathways, we're talking dopamine here, can get a sort of false positive signal. It's like seeing a picture of your absolute favorite food. Your brain kind of gears up for the real thing, right? Even if it's just an image. Drinking NA beer can inadvertently keep those habitual brain pathways firing, even without the actual alcohol. And that could make it harder to truly break free from the need for a drink, rather than just the alcohol itself. Does that make sense? So look, if you're using non-alcoholic beer as a substitute, that's great. Seriously, it can be a very helpful bridge for many people. But please don't let it be your only tool in the toolbox. It's really important to mix it up. Explore other alternatives that genuinely serve your health goals better. For example, adaptogenic drinks. Fantastic option. They often have ingredients like ashwagandha, L-theanine, maybe reishi mushroom, things that can truly help with stress, focus. Electrolyte mocktails are also incredibly simple but effective. Think about coconut water, squeeze of lime or lemon, maybe to pinch of sea salt. Super revitalizing, hits the spot. Bitters and soda water offers that kind of sophisticated, complex flavor profile. Feels like an adult drink, but without sugar or booze. And hey, don't forget the basics. Simple herbal teas, chamomile, peppermint, or just sparkling water with a slice of lime or cucumber. Often overlooked, but incredibly refreshing and hydrating. Sometimes simple is best. Beyond just finding swaps for the drink itself, let's talk for a minute about what really helps your body unwind and recover, especially, say, at night. There are specific supportive ingredients, actual recovery strategies you can use that are proven to help with mood, stress reduction, and getting restful sleep, like vitamin B12, specifically the methylcobalamin form that's the active one. It's crucial for maintaining energy, keeping your thinking clear, nerve health, especially if stress is dragging you down. Then there's L-theanine. You find it naturally in green tea. It's excellent for promoting this calm, focused state without making you drowsy. It helps you ease into the evening without needing alcohol, or even an NA beer, to signal relaxed time. And finally, magnesium glycinate. This one's a real powerhouse. It's great for soothing the nervous system, helps relax muscles, and really supports better quality sleep, especially when you're trying to dish the booze buzz but still want to chill out properly. See, these are the kinds of things that actually build you up. For real. They support your body's natural processes. So, to wrap this all up, the quick summary of our exploration today. Non-alcoholic beer could be a useful tool, yes. It can help you cut back on alcohol, but, and this is the main point, it is not inherently a health drink all by itself. It just isn't. It's a tool. And like any tool, it works best when you understand exactly what it's for and what its limitations are. If you're recovery, if you're navigating sobriety, please exercise extreme caution, really considering if those trace amounts pose a risk for you. If you're just sober curious, trying things out, stay intentional. Ask yourself why you're reaching for that NA beer instead of something else. And look, if you find yourself downing like several NA beers every single night, you might just be swapping one habit for another. Without really addressing the underlying reasons why you feel the need for a drink in the first place, something to think about. So here's a final thought, something for you to maybe mull over a bit. Non-alcoholic beer isn't inherently bad. It really isn't. Let's be clear on that. But let's also be honest. It's not some magic bullet solution either. It's essentially a very clever imitation of an alcoholic drink. If you find you're consistently reaching for any beer because you genuinely want to feel more balanced, more relaxed, or improve your health in a deep fundamental way, you might actually be better served by focusing on building genuine recovery habits. Incorporating those brain-supporting, body-nourishing ingredients we talked about, the ones that truly build you up from the inside out. Maybe take a moment to consider what truly helps you unwind, sleep better, and ultimately thrive in a way to feel sustainable and genuinely good for your long-term well-being. Okay, that's all for this exploration. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'll catch you next time. That's a wrap for today's episode. If you got something out of this, do me a quick favor, leave a rating and review on whatever podcast platform you're listening on. It helps keep the show going and would mean the world to me. Got ideas, comments, or questions? Shoot me an email at mike@trycloud9.com. I'd love to hear from you. And if you're looking for extra support, check out Cloud9, makers of Daily Restore, a once-a-day supplement to support your body from alcohol's effects, and Rise and Unwind AM/PM, a 24-hour combo to curb cravings, balance mood, and improve sleep when taking a break. Go to trycloud9.com and use the code PODCAST to save 15% on your next order. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you next time.